The meeting room aboard the ESS Horizon was silent, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Captain Daeon Kim stood at the window, watching the stars pass by as his ship traveled through space. Behind him, 3 other officers sat around a table, their faces showing worry and anger. "They denied our request again," said Ambassador Hyjin Park, her voice tight with frustration. She held a datapad in her hands, the screen showing the official response from the Galactic Council. "They won't even let us speak at the emergency session. They say our complaint about New Jeju is not important enough." Commander Ji-won Lee slammed her fist on the table. The sound echoed in the quiet room. "Not important enough? There are 2 million people on that planet. Children are dying because the Velthians won't let food ships through. How is that not important?" Daeon turned away from the window. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. He had been a captain for 15 years, and in all that time, he had watched his people suffer under galactic law. Earth had joined the Galactic Council 73 years ago, full of hope and dreams of friendship among the stars. Those dreams had died quickly. The elder species, especially the Velthians, treated humans like dirt. Human ships were stopped and searched without reason. Human traders were banned from the best trade routes. Human colonies paid 3 times more taxes than anyone else. And when humans complained, they were told to be patient, to wait. Yes, to accept their place as a junior species. Daeyoon had been patient. All of humanity had been patient. But patience had limits. "How much time does New Jeju have?" he asked quietly. Hyjin checked her datapad. 3 weeks. Maybe less. The medical supplies ran out 2 days ago. People are getting sick. The elderly and the children will die first. Counselor Mireille Choi, the youngest person in the room, spoke up. She was an expert in alien cultures and had spent years studying the Galactic Council's laws. "I've been reading the old treaties. There's nothing in galactic law that allows the Velthians to blockade a human colony like this. They claim it's a regulatory review, but that's just an excuse. They want the mineral deposits we found on New Jeju. If we abandon the planet, Velthian corporations will move in and claim everything." "We know why they're doing it," Ji-won said. "The question is what we do about it. We can't just sit here while our people die." Daeyoon walked back to the table and sat down. He looked at each person carefully. These were people he trusted with his life. More than that, they were people who loved Earth and humanity as much as he did. "There's something I need to tell you," he said slowly. "Something that very few people know. For the last 70 years, while the galaxy has been treating us like children, Earth has been working on a project. A secret project." Jin's eyes widened. "What kind of project?" "A military project," Daeon said. "When we first joined the council, our leaders realized something important. The galaxy doesn't respect words. It respects power. So while we've been smiling and bowing and following their rules, our scientists have been building weapons. New weapons. Weapons that the galaxy has never seen before." Ji-won leaned forward. "What kind of weapons?" Daeyoon pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared, showing designs and schematics that made everyone in the room catch their breath. There were ships that could appear anywhere instantly, cannons that created tiny black holes, millions of microscopic machines that could take apart enemy ships piece by piece, computer systems that could predict what enemies would do before they did it. "This is impossible," Mireille whispered. "Technology like this shouldn't exist. How did we develop this without anyone knowing?" "Because everyone underestimated us," Daeon said with a thin smile. "The Velthians and the other elder species think we're weak. They think we're just talking animals who got lucky and learned how to build spaceships. They never imagined we might be dangerous." Hyjin stood up and walked around the table, studying the hologram from every angle. "If we reveal these weapons, everything changes. The entire galactic balance of power shifts. The Velthians won't just back down. They'll see us as a threat. They should see us as a threat," Ji-won said. "They've been threatening us for 70 years. Maybe it's time they learned what it feels like. But if we do this, there's no going back," Mireille warned. "Right now, we're just another small species trying to survive. If we show them we have this kind of power, we become players in the great game. We'll have enemies. Real enemies who want to destroy us, and nodded. I know. That's why this decision isn't just mine to make. I've been in contact with Earth's government. The United Assembly has been meeting for the last 3 days. They've been debating this exact question. Do we continue to be patient, or do we finally show our teeth? And Hijin asked. The vote was this morning. It was unanimous. Every nation on Earth, every representative, every voice agreed. We're done being patient. The room fell silent again. Outside the window, the stars continued their eternal dance. Somewhere out there, children were dying on New Jeju because of Velthian greed. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was meeting, discussing trade routes and mining rights while ignoring human suffering. So what's the plan? Gi-wan asked. Daeon stood up and straightened his uniform. Hi, Jin. You're going to request one more council session. But this time you're not asking. You're demanding. And you're going to broadcast the demand on every communication channel in the galaxy? Make it public. Make it loud. What do I tell them? Tell them that humanity has a statement to make. Tell them it concerns everyone. Tell them they should all be there to hear it. Daeon's voice was hard now, like steel. And tell them that after 73 years of patience, humanity is ready to speak. Haijin smiled. It was not a kind smile. They're going to ignore it. They always ignore us, Good Daeon said. Let them ignore it. Let them think we're just complaining again. Let them laugh and make jokes about the weak humans. And then, when they're all gathered in one place, feeling safe and superior, we're going to show them exactly what humanity has become. Murray looked worried. Captain, if we do this wrong, we could start a war that destroys Earth. If we do nothing, Daeon replied, Earth dies slowly, one colony at a time, one insult at a time, one child at a time. I'd rather fight and lose than watch my people suffer in silence. Quan pulled up a star map on the hologram. Red dots marked Velthian military positions. Blue dots marked human colonies. There were so many more red dots than blue. When do we start? Now, Daeon said. Haijin, send the message! Quan, prepare the fleet. Contact every human ship in this sector. Tell them to stand ready. Murray, I want you to prepare a full report on Velthian war crimes. Every treaty they've broken, every law they've ignored, every human life they've destroyed, we're going to put it all on record. As his officers moved to follow his orders, Daeon looked out the window one last time. In the distance, he could see the light from New Jeju's star. His people were there, suffering, dying, or waiting for someone to save them. They wouldn't have to wait much longer. The message went out within the hour. Every newsfeed in the galaxy received it. Every government, every species, every individual with access to galactic communications saw Ambassador Hijin, Bark's face as she made humanity's demand. Her words were simple and clear. The Galactic Council will meet in 3 days. Humanity has a statement that concerns all species. We recommend everyone attend. What we have to say will change everything. On the Velthian homeworld, Supreme Leader Vastrin watched the message and laughed. The humans are complaining again. How tiresome. Very well, let them speak. We'll listen politely and then ignore them, as always. His advisors laughed with him. None of them noticed the edge in Hijin's voice. None of them saw the cold determination in her eyes. None of them understood that humanity's patience had been a choice, not a weakness. And now that choice was ending. Aboard the Horizon, Ehun received confirmation that the message had been sent. He allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before turning back to his work. There was so much to prepare, so much to coordinate. In 3 days, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. In 3 days, everything would change. The countdown had begun. The council chamber was enormous, built to hold representatives from dozens of different species. The ceiling stretched high above, showing a projection of the galaxy itself, with every member world marked by a glowing point of light. Today, the chamber was completely full. Every seat was taken. Every species had sent someone to hear what the humans had to say. Most of them expected nothing important. Humans always complained about something. Taxes were too high. Trade rules were unfair. Their colonies were treated badly. The older species had heard it all before. They came to the meeting because ignoring an official demand would look bad. They didn't expect anything interesting to happen. The Velthian delegation arrived last, making a show of their importance. They took their seats slowly, talking and laughing among themselves. Supreme Leader Vastron himself had not bothered to come. He sent an admiral instead, a sign of disrespect that everyone in the chamber understood. Ambassador Hyjin Park stood at the central podium, waiting patiently for everyone to settle down. On either side of her stood Captain Daeon Kim and Commander Jiwon Lee, both wearing their formal military uniforms. Behind them, a massive holographic display remained dark, waiting to be activated. When the chamber finally grew quiet, Hyjin spoke. Her voice was calm and clear, carried to every corner of the room by the translation system. Members of the Galactic Council, humanity thanks you for attending this session. We know many of you came expecting to hear another complaint, another request for fairness, another plea for justice. She paused, letting her words sink in. You will not hear those things today. Today, humanity is not asking for anything. Confused murmurs ran through the chamber. The Velthian admiral whispered something to his aide, and they both laughed. Hyjin continued, her voice growing harder. For 73 years, humanity has been part of this council. For 73 years, we have followed your rules. We have paid your taxes. We have accepted your restrictions. We did this because we believed in the ideals this council claims to represent. Peace, cooperation, justice for all species. She pressed a button, and the holographic display came to life. Images began to play, showing the blockade of New Jeju. Ships turned away at gunpoint. Sick children in hospital beds. Food supplies running low. The faces of people who were dying while the council did nothing. We were wrong to believe in you, Hyjin said. Her voice was cold now, like ice. You blockaded our colony. You let our children starve. And when we asked for help, you told us to wait, to be patient, to accept our place as a junior species. The Velthian admiral stood up, his face angry. This is outrageous. You cannot speak to this council in such a manner. Hyjin turned to look at him directly. Sit down, Admiral. We are not finished. Something in her voice made the admiral hesitate. Around the chamber, other representatives began to pay closer attention. This was not how humans usually spoke. There was no pleading in Hyjin's voice. No desperation. Just cold, controlled anger. The admiral slowly sat back down. Commander Juon stepped forward. The admiral is right about one thing. We should not speak to you this way. We should not need to. You should have helped us when we asked, but you didn't. So now we will help ourselves. She made a gesture, and the holographic display changed. New images appeared, showing weapons and ships that made the entire chamber gasp. Technology that looked impossible. Designs that shouldn't exist. While you were laughing at us, Jiwon said, we were building. While you were calling us weak, we were preparing. While you thought we had no teeth, we were sharpening them. Scientist from the Dorvakian delegation stood up, his eyes wide. This can't be real. Ships that teleport instantly? Weapons that create black holes? This technology is centuries beyond what any species possesses. It's real, Captain Daeon said, speaking for the first time. And we're about to prove it. He nodded to Giwon, who activated her communicator. All ships execute Operation Sunrise. Outside the council station, the Velthian Third Fleet hung in space. 200 warships, positioned around New Jeju to maintain the blockade. The fleet admiral sat in his command chair, bored and waiting for the council meeting to end so he could return to more important duties. His sensor officer suddenly shouted in alarm. Admiral, the entire fleet just disappeared from sensors. What? That's impossible. Run a diagnostic. Diagnostics are clear, sir? The fleet is gone? Every ship. They just vanished. Back in the council chamber, the holographic display now showed the empty space where the Velthian fleet had been. Then it showed the same ships, now located at the edge of the star system. 20 light-years away from New Jeju. Every single ship had been moved instantly. Without warning, Without damage, panic erupted in the chamber. Representatives jumped to their feet, shouting questions and accusations. The Velthian admiral looked like he might faint. Dayon raised his hand, and somehow the gesture commanded attention. The chamber slowly grew quiet again. "Your fleet is unharmed," he said. "Every ship, every crew member, we moved them because we could, because we wanted to show you what we're capable of. They can return to their posts in 3 days at maximum engine speed. We suggest they use that time to think carefully about their next actions." Hygiene stepped forward again. "The blockade of New Jeju is over. Our supply ships are already on their way. Any attempt to interfere with them will be considered an act of war. And as you have just seen, war with humanity is not something you want." The chamber was completely silent now. Every species representative stared at the humans with new understanding. These were not the weak, complaining humans they had dismissed for decades. These were predators who had been hiding their fangs. "Here are humanity's terms," Hyjin announced, her voice ringing through the chamber. "All discriminatory laws against human colonies and ships will be repealed immediately. Full reparations will be paid for damages caused by unfair treatment. Humanity will receive equal representation in council voting. Trade agreements will be renegotiated under fair terms. And the Velthian Empire will issue a formal apology for the blockade of New Jeju." The Velthian admiral found his voice. "Never. The Empire does not apologize to lesser species. We will mobilize our full military might and crush you." "You have 72 hours to comply," Hyjin said, ignoring his outburst. "If you refuse, humanity will no longer be bound by galactic law. We will take what was denied to us. We will free every species you have oppressed. We will break your empire into pieces." She paused, then added quietly, "We were patient. We gave you every chance to do the right thing. But that ends now." Hyjin turned and walked toward the exit. Dayon and Juan followed her. The 3 humans left the chamber in perfect silence, their footsteps echoing on the polished floor. Behind them, chaos erupted. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate action against humanity. Others called for calm and negotiation. A few species representatives, those who had also suffered under Velthian rule, watched the humans leave with something like hope in their eyes. The Velthian admiral was already on his communicator, speaking rapidly to his superiors. "Yes, Supreme Leader, they have some kind of new technology. Yes, they moved our entire fleet. I don't know how. We need to respond immediately." On the Velthian homeworld, Supreme Leader Vastron listened to the report with growing fury. His advisors gathered around him, all talking at once, offering suggestions and warnings. "Silence," Vastron roared. When the room grew quiet, he spoke slowly, his voice full of anger. "The humans think they can threaten us. They think one trick with teleporting ships makes them our equals. They are wrong. We are the Velthian Empire. We have ruled this galaxy for thousands of years. We will not bow to upstart primitives." His military commander stepped forward. "Supreme Leader, perhaps we should investigate their technology first. If they truly have weapons like they showed, I don't care what weapons they have." Vastron slammed his fist on his throne. "Mobilize everything. Every fleet. Every ship. Every weapon. We will gather our forces and crush Earth once and for all. Let this be a lesson to any species that dares challenge Velthian authority." The commander bowed and left to carry out the orders. As he walked through the palace corridors, he felt a cold fear in his stomach. He had fought in many wars. He knew the look of a warrior species. And the humans in that council chamber had looked like warriors who were ready to fight. On board the Horizon, Ijin sat in her quarters and allowed herself to shake. The meeting had taken every ounce of strength she had. Facing down the entire Galactic Council, threatening the most powerful empire in the galaxy, it had been terrifying. But she couldn't show fear, couldn't show doubt. A door chime sounded. "Come in," she called. Dayon entered, carrying 2 cups of tea. He handed one to Hyjin and sat down across from her. "You did well in there. I made us a lot of enemies. We already had enemies. We just made them aware of it." Dayon sipped his tea. The intelligence reports are coming in. The Velthians are mobilizing their fleets. All of them. They're not going to accept our terms. I know, Hyjin said quietly. I was hoping they would see reason, but I knew they wouldn't. Their pride won't let them back down. Are you ready for what comes next? The hours ticked down slowly. Across the galaxy, species watched and waited to see what would happen when humanity's deadline expired. Some hoped for peace. Others prepared for war. And a few simply waited to see which side would win, ready to join the victor. 12 hours after the council meeting, the Velthian response came. It was broadcast on every channel, meant to be heard by every species in the galaxy. Supreme Leader Vastron himself appeared on screens across countless worlds. The Velthian Empire does not negotiate with terrorists, he declared. Humanity has shown its true nature. They are warmongers and criminals who threaten the peace of the galaxy. We will respond to their aggression with the full strength of our military. Let this be a lesson to all who would challenge the natural order of things. Commander Gewin watched the broadcast from the bridge of the horizon. When it ended, she turned to her communications officer. Send the message to all human colonies. Execute Phase 2. What happened next surprised the galaxy. Instead of preparing to defend Earth, humanity began evacuating it. Massive colony ships appeared in orbit around the homeworld. Millions of civilians boarded the ships. Along with manufacturing equipment, cultural artifacts, and genetic seed banks, the Velthian admiral monitoring Earth from a distance reported this to his superiors with confusion. They're abandoning their homeworld? Why would they do that? Within hours, the answer became clear. The colony ships didn't flee to safe hiding places. Instead, they activated their quantum drives and vanished. When they reappeared, they were scattered across 40 different unclaimed star systems. In each system, humans began building fortified colonies with full industrial capability. Captain Dayun explained the strategy to his officers. The Velthians think they can win by attacking Earth. They think if they destroy our homeworld, we'll surrender. But humanity isn't just one planet anymore. We're an idea that can take root anywhere. You can't blockade an idea. While the Velthians tried to understand what humanity was doing, other species began to take notice. Ambassador Sun Wukong of the Thrinian Commonwealth sent a private message to the horizon. His people had suffered under Velthian rule for centuries, but had never dared to resist. Captain Kim, the message read, My government has been watching your actions with great interest. We wondered if humanity would accept allies in this conflict. Many species have waited for someone brave enough to stand against the Velthians. You have given us hope. Juan brought the message to Dayun. We're getting similar messages from 13 other species. They want to join us, Taeyun considered carefully. Tell them we appreciate the support, but this is humanity's fight. We won't ask others to die for our cause. But the Thrinians and others didn't wait for permission. Within days, they announced the formation of the Free Species Coalition. Their charter was simple. No species would bow to imperial domination again. All members would be treated as equals. If one was attacked, all would defend them. The Velthian Empire suddenly found itself facing not just humanity, but a coalition of species who had been waiting for this moment. The balance of galactic power was shifting 30-6 hours into the countdown. The first Velthian fleet arrived at Earth's solar system. Admiral Kresh commanded 200 warships, expecting to find a desperate defense. Instead, he found empty space. No defense platforms. No patrol ships. Just silence. Where are they? He demanded, scan every planet, every moon. Find the human fleet. His sensor officer worked frantically. Admiral, I'm detecting nothing. No ships, no energy signatures. It's like they abandoned the entire system. Smiled coldly. So the humans are cowards after all. They run and hide rather than face us. Continue forward. We'll claim Earth for the Empire and hunt down their colony ships later. Fleet advanced toward Mars. They were halfway there when the trap was sprung. Space itself seemed to tear open. 5,000 human warships decloaked simultaneously, appearing from nowhere. They had been there all along, invisible and waiting. The Velthian fleet was surrounded. Commander Jiwan's face appeared on every Velthian ship's communication screen. This is your only warning. Turn back now. Leave this system. You will not receive another chance. Admiral Kresh's face turned purple with rage. Fire! Fire everything! Show these humans what real military power looks like. The Velthian fleet opened fire with every weapon they had. Energy beams and missiles filled space, all targeting the human ships. For a moment, it looked like the Velthians might win through sheer firepower. Then the human ships activated their defenses. And the galaxy learned what true terror looked like. The singularity cannons fired first. Tiny black holes appeared in the centers of Velthian capital ships. The artificial singularities lasted only seconds before evaporating. But in those seconds, they ripped the ships apart from the inside. Metal twisted and screamed. Crew members were pulled into the hungry gravity wells. 12 Velthian ships were destroyed in the first volley. Then came the nanoswarms. Trillions of microscopic machines poured out of human vessels like angry clouds. Velthian shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, were useless. The nanoswarms simply flowed through the shields and began taking apart the enemy ships, piece by piece. Hull plating dissolved. Weapon systems stopped working. Life support failed. The battle lasted for minutes. Of 200 Velthian warships, 198 were disabled or destroyed. Only 2 ships escaped, running at maximum speed with their crews screaming in terror. Giwan watched them go and opened a final communication. Tell your supreme leader this was mercy. Tell him that next time we will not be so kind. Tell him the countdown continues. The footage of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. Species that had thought themselves powerful realized they were children playing with toys compared to what humanity had built. The Velthian Empire, which had seemed invincible for thousands of years, had been crushed in minutes. On the Velthian homeworld, Supreme Leader Vastrin watched the battle footage again and again. His advisors stood silent, afraid to speak. Finally, one brave counselor cleared his throat. Supreme Leader, perhaps we should reconsider. The humans are more powerful than we thought. Maybe negotiation, no. Vastrin roared. I will not bow to these primitives. We still have thousands of ships. We will gather every fleet, every weapon, every soldier. We will mobilize the entire empire if necessary. The humans want war? We will give them war beyond their worst nightmares. He turned to his military commanders. Pull back all our forces from the colonial holdings. Bring everything to the core worlds. Every ship. Every soldier. We will create a defense that not even these human weapons can break. And then we will strike back with everything we have. The commanders bowed and left to carry out the orders. But in the corridors outside, they whispered to each other with worried voices. They had all seen the battle footage. They had all watched human weapons do things that should be impossible, and they all wondered if their supreme leader's pride would doom them all. 40-8 hours into the countdown. The Galactic Council tried to call an emergency session to negotiate peace, but neither humanity nor the Velthians attended. The time for talking was over. Small species across the galaxy began making choices. Some declared neutrality and closed their borders. Others quietly joined the Free Species Coalition, sensing which way the wind was blowing. A few remained loyal to the Velthians. Their loyalty was based on fear rather than respect. Captain Dayun received reports of Velthian fleet movements. They were pulling ships from everywhere, consolidating their forces around their core worlds. It was a defensive strategy, which meant the Velthians were now afraid. But it was also dangerous, because a cornered animal fights hardest when it has nowhere to run. They're going to try one more major offensive, he told his command staff. They'll gather everything they have and throw it at us in one massive attack. They think if they can destroy enough of our fleet, we'll lose our nerve and retreat. Will we retreat? Asked one of his younger officers. Dayan's answer was immediate. No, we've come too far. Humanity tried peace for 70 years. We tried diplomacy. We tried following their rules. All it got us was exploitation and suffering. Now we show them what happens when humans stop playing by the rules. 72 hours. The countdown reached 0. The Velthian Empire's answer came in the form of 1,500 warships, appearing at the edge of Earth's solar system. 3 entire fleets, the largest military force the Velthians had assembled in centuries. They didn't attack immediately. Instead, they spread out in a siege formation, surrounding the system from all sides. Supreme Leader Vastron broadcast a message to humanity. You wanted our attention? You have it. Surrender now, give us your technology, and we will allow your species to survive as subjects of the Empire. Refuse, and we will destroy every human colony in the galaxy. You have 12 hours to decide. Ambassador Hai-Jin watched the message from Earth's surface. Most civilians had been evacuated, but she had chosen to stay, along with the government leadership. If humanity was going to make a stand, they would do it from their homeworld. She recorded her response carefully. When she was satisfied, she broadcasted on every channel. Supreme Leader Vastron, humanity rejects your offer. We will never be subjects. While the Velthian fleets surrounded Earth's solar system, preparing for a siege they thought would break humanity's spirit, something else was happening across the galaxy. Something the Velthians didn't expect and couldn't stop. 20 light-years from Earth. Captain Soman Bay commanded a small stealth ship called the Whisper. Her crew numbered only 15, but they carried enough firepower to cripple a planet's defenses. Right now, they were approaching Veltharos, one of the Velthian Empire's most important secondary worlds. Distance to target? Salman asked quietly. Her navigator checked the readings. 200,000 kilometers? We're inside their sensor range, but they can't detect us. The Whisper was humanity's answer to the siege. While the Velthians thought they had humanity trapped, human stealth ships were moving across the Empire like ghosts. Their mission was simple: appear from nowhere, hit military targets hard, and vanish before the enemy could respond. Activate Dimensional Breach, Salman ordered. The ship shimmered and seemed to disappear. For a brief moment, the Whisper existed in a different layer of space, one where normal physics didn't quite apply. When it reappeared, it was inside Veltharos' planetary shield. The supposedly impenetrable defense that protected the world from attack, alarms screamed across the planet's defense network. Velthian military commanders stared at their screens in confusion. A ship had just appeared inside their shields. That was impossible. Nothing could breach the shields from outside. But humanity had learned to bend the rules of space itself. Weapons free, Salman said calmly. Target the orbital command platforms. The Whisper's singularity cannons fired 3 times. 3 artificial black holes appeared at the locations of the massive defense stations orbiting the planet. The stations simply ceased to exist, pulled into the temporary singularities, and crushed into nothing. Panic erupted on Veltharos. Fighter craft launched from the surface. Defense ships in orbit scrambled to respond. But before they could locate the Whisper, the small ship activated its quantum drive and vanished again. The entire attack lasted 45 seconds. This same scene played out across 47 different Velthian worlds simultaneously. Human strike teams appeared from nowhere, destroyed key military installations, and disappeared. No occupation, no conquest. Just destruction and fear. Commander Juan monitored the operations from her command center on Earth. Red markers on her tactical display showed successful strikes. That's the last one. All teams report mission success. 0 casualties on our side. Captain Daeun stood beside her, watching the display. The Velthians built their empire on the idea that their worlds were safe, that they could project power outward while remaining secure at home. We just shattered that illusion. They'll pull forces back to defend their core worlds, Juan predicted. The siege will weaken. That's what we're counting on. On the Velthian homeworld, Supreme Leader Vastron received the reports with growing rage and fear. 47 worlds attacked, defense stations destroyed, military bases crippled, and the humans had suffered no losses at all. How are they doing this? He demanded. How are they getting past our shields? How are they appearing inside our defenses? His chief scientist, A elderly Velthian named Corvin looked exhausted. Supreme Leader, we've been analyzing the human technology. It operates on principles we barely understand. They've found ways to manipulate space and time itself. Our shields are designed to stop physical objects and energy weapons. They can't stop something that exists partially outside normal space, then find a way to stop them. It would take years of research, maybe decades. They've had 70 years to develop this technology while we thought they were harmless. Astron turned away, his mind racing. The siege of Earth suddenly seemed less important. If the humans could strike anywhere, at any time, the entire empire was vulnerable. He needed to bring forces back to protect the core worlds. But if he weakened the siege, the humans would break out. He was trapped, and he knew it. While the Velthians struggled with impossible choices, the Free Species Coalition was growing. The Therinian Commonwealth officially announced its alliance with humanity, bringing 30 well-defended star systems into the coalition. The Dorvakians, a warrior species who had always respected strength, joined next. They brought with them powerful ships and experienced soldiers. Within a week of humanity's demonstration of power, 31 species had joined the coalition. They weren't all doing it out of love for humans. Most were doing it because they finally saw a chance to break free from Velthian domination. But the result was the same. The galaxy was choosing sides. And more species were choosing against the Velthians than with them. Ambassador Hyjin addressed the coalition in a broadcast that reached every member world. We didn't start this war because we wanted power. We started it because we wanted justice. Every species here has suffered under Velthian rule. High taxes, unfair laws, military threats, economic exploitation. Today we say no more. Together, we are strong enough to build a better galaxy. On board the Horizon, Counselor Mireille Choi was working on something equally important. She was documenting every Velthian crime, every broken treaty, every act of oppression. The list was long and detailed. When the war ended, this evidence would be used to reshape galactic law itself. We need to make sure this never happens again, Mireille explained to her staff. It's not enough to defeat the Velthians militarily. We need to create a legal framework that prevents any species from dominating others the way they did. One of her assistants looked worried. But what if we win the war, and humanity becomes the new dominant power? Won't we be tempted to do the same things the Velthians did? Mireille smiled sadly. That's exactly why we're writing these laws now, while we're still fighting for survival. We're establishing principles that even humanity will have to follow. Equal rights for all species. No colonial exploitation. No military aggression. These rules will apply to everyone, including us. The siege of Earth's solar system continued, but it was weakening. The Velthian fleets that surrounded the system were receiving desperate calls from their home worlds. Defense stations had been destroyed. Military bases were crippled. Planets that had felt safe for centuries now lived in fear of human strike teams appearing from nowhere. Admiral Kresh, still bitter from his earlier defeat, commanded the siege fleet. He wanted to order an allowed attack on Earth, but his orders from Supreme Leader Vastron were clear. Maintain the siege, but do not attack unless the humans tried to break out. The Velthian leadership was still trying to develop countermeasures to human technology. Kresh watched his tactical displays with frustration. Human supply ships were moving in and out of the solar system, using their quantum drives to bypass the siege entirely. He couldn't stop them. Every time his ships tried to intercept, the human vessels simply vanished and reappeared somewhere else. This isn't a siege, he muttered to his second-in-command. We're not trapping them. They're just ignoring us. His officer nodded grimly. Should we request permission to attack? The Supreme Leader wants to wait until we understand their technology better. But I don't think we'll ever understand it. They're too far ahead of us. Deep in the Velthian Empire, something else was happening. Planets that had been conquered and occupied by the Velthians for centuries saw their garrison forces being pulled away to defend the core worlds. Local populations began to revolt. Some asked the Free Species Coalition for help. Others simply declared independence. The Velthian Empire was crumbling from within, in a secret meeting room on a neutral space station. Representatives from both sides gathered for unauthorized peace talks. These were not official negotiations. Supreme Leader Vastrin had forbidden any contact with the humans, but some Velthian leaders were desperate to end the war before their entire civilization collapsed. Patriarch Velker was the senior Velthian at the meeting. He was old and had served on the Velthian Council for decades. He had opposed Vastrin's aggressive response to humanity from the beginning, but he had been overruled. Now he sat across from Ambassador Hedgeen, trying to find a way to save his people. Ambassador Park, he began carefully. There are those among my people who recognize that this war cannot be won. We wish to discuss terms. Hyjin studied the old Velthian carefully. Are you speaking with Supreme Leader Vastrin's authority? No, Velker admitted. If Vastrin learns of this meeting, he will have me arrested for treason. But there are many of us who believe he is leading our civilization to destruction. We need to find another way. Captain Daeun, who had accompanied Hyjin to the meeting, leaned forward. How many Velthian leaders share your view? Nearly 40% of the council. Several fleet admirals, many planetary governors, but Vastrin still controls the military forces and the official government. If we move against him openly, it will mean civil war within our empire. Hyjin exchanged a glance with Daeun. This was the opportunity they had been hoping for, but it was also dangerous. If they helped the reformist Velthians, they might end up responsible for tearing apart an entire civilization. What are you proposing? She asked. Velker took a deep breath. Give us time. Let us try to convince more of our people that continuing this war is madness. If we can build enough support, we can remove Vastrin from power peacefully. And the 2 weeks that Patriarch Velker requested turned into 10 days of growing tension. On the surface, the war continued. Human strike teams kept hitting Velthian military targets. The siege of Earth remained in place. Both sides maintained their aggressive postures. But beneath the surface, something else was happening. Across the Velthian Empire, secret meetings were taking place. Reformist leaders were making their case to anyone who would listen. The war was unwinnable. Humanity's technology was too advanced. The Free Species Coalition was growing stronger every day. Continuing the fight would only lead to total destruction. But Supreme Leader Vastrin was not blind to what was happening. His intelligence services reported the growing dissent. His spies discovered the unauthorized meeting between Velker and the humans. And his response was exactly what everyone feared. On the 10th day, Vastrin acted. Patriarch Velker's family was arrested. Reformist council members were removed from their positions. Fleet admirals who had questioned Vastrin's strategy were replaced with loyal supporters. And then Vastrin made an announcement that shocked the entire galaxy. The traitors within our empire have been exposed. He broadcast on every channel. Those who would surrender to the humans, who would betray our proud heritage, have shown their true colors. But the Velthian Empire stands strong. And today, we will show these humans and their allies what real military power looks like. Commander Guan saw the intelligence reports coming in, and her blood ran cold. He's mobilizing everything. Every ship. Every weapon. He's pulling forces from every corner of the Empire and sending them to Earth. Captain Daeun studied the tactical displays. Numbers scrolled across the screens. 400 Velthian warships were heading toward Earth's solar system, joining the 1,500 already in position. It would be the largest battle fleet in galactic history. He's desperate, Daeun said quietly. He knows he's losing control. So he's gambling everything on one massive attack. If he destroys Earth and breaks our military, he thinks the coalition will fall apart and the reformists will lose their support. Will it work? Asked one of the younger officers. Daeun's expression was grim. It might. If they hit us with everything at once, even our technology might not be enough. We've been holding back, trying to minimize casualties. But if they force us into total war, people will die. A lot of people. Ambassador Hyjin received a desperate message from Patriarch Velker. He had managed to avoid arrest and was in hiding with other reformist leaders. Ambassador Park, you must understand. Vastrin has gone mad. He will destroy everything rather than admit defeat. When his fleet attacks, you must respond with overwhelming force. It is the only way to end this quickly. Many of my people will die, but it is better than the slow destruction Vastron will bring to our entire civilization." Jen read the message 3 times. Then she called a meeting with the coalition leadership. Representatives from 31 species gathered via holographic link to discuss their response. "The Velthians are coming with everything they have," Hyjin explained. "They will attack New Jeju first, the colony where this all started. Vastron wants revenge. He wants to destroy the place we fought so hard to protect." The Thranian ambassador, Sun Wukong, spoke up. "Then we defend it with everything we have. The coalition stands with humanity." But Hyjin shook her head. "No, I appreciate the support, but this is humanity's fight. We started this by standing up to the Velthians. We need to finish it. But I need the coalition to be ready for what comes after. Because when this battle ends, the Velthian Empire will need to be rebuilt. And we'll need all of you to help make sure it's rebuilt the right way." The Dorvakian representative, a scarred warrior named Mako, smiled fiercely. "You honor us with your trust, Ambassador. We will be ready." The Velthian fleet arrived at New Jeju 3 days later. Nearly 2,000 warships dropped out of hyperspace and immediately began their attack. They didn't bother with warnings or demands for surrender. They simply opened fire on everything human. But humanity was ready. The defense grid around New Jeju activated, and 5,000 human warships decloaked. They had been waiting and hiding, knowing this attack would come. The Velthians were outnumbered, but their ships were larger, and they were fighting with desperate fury. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Singularity cannons fired on both sides. Artificial black holes appeared and disappeared in seconds, swallowing ships whole. Nanoswarms clashed in space, billions of microscopic machines fighting for dominance. Energy shields collapsed under impossible forces. Hull plating melted under focus fire. Commander Jawan directed the human forces with cold precision. She had studied every battle in history, every tactical mistake, every victory and defeat. Now, she put that knowledge to use. Human ships appeared and disappeared using their quantum drives, attacking from unexpected angles. They targeted Velthian command ships first, creating confusion in the enemy ranks. But the Velthians were not fighting defensively anymore. They were attacking with everything they had, and their desperation made them dangerous. "We're taking heavy losses," reported the tactical officer. "They're not trying to disable our ships. They're going for kill shots," "Turn fire," Juan ordered. "No more holding back. We gave them every chance for peace. They chose war. Give them war." Human weapons unleashed their full power. The singularity cannons were set to maximum effect. The nanoswarms were programmed for complete disassembly. And for the first time, humanity deployed its deadliest weapon, the quantum destabilization missile. These missiles didn't explode in the traditional sense. Instead, they created a field that made the fabric of space itself unstable. Anything caught in the field simply ceased to exist at the quantum level. It was a weapon so terrible that humanity had hoped never to use it, but Vastron had left them no choice. The first missile hit a Velthian carrier. The massive ship vanished in a flash of light. No debris, no survivors. Just empty space where the ship had been. The Velthian fleet hesitated, fear finally breaking through their fury. They had pushed humanity too far. And now they were learning what a truly desperate human looked like. Supreme Leader Vastron watched the battle from his flagship at the edge of the combat zone. He saw his fleet being torn apart. He saw weapons that defied everything he understood about physics. And for the first time in his long life, he felt real fear. "Pull back," he ordered. "All ships, retreat too." He never finished the order. A human stealth ship, the same Whisper commanded by Captain Soman Bay, appeared directly next to his flagship. It had been hunting him specifically, waiting for the right moment. Supreme Leader Vastron, Summon's voice came through his communications system. "You are under arrest for war crimes. Surrender your ship immediately." Vastron's response was to activate his flagship's self-destruct sequence. "If I cannot have victory, I will have revenge." But human technology was faster. The nanoswarms from the Whisper poured into Vastron's flagship and disabled the self-destruct in seconds. They then disabled all weapons, engines, and life support. The mighty flagship became a helpless prison. All Velthian ships, go on broadcasts on every frequency. Your leader has been captured. The war is over. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. Across the battlefield, Velthian ships began lowering their shields and powering down weapons. Some tried to flee. A few continued fighting and were destroyed. But most chose survival over suicide. The battle ended after 6 hours of brutal combat. Of 2,000 Velthian warships, 400 were destroyed. 1,100 were captured. The rest escaped. Humanity lost 300 ships and 30,000 soldiers. The price of victory was high, but it could have been much higher. In the aftermath, Galaxy watched as humanity did something unexpected. Instead of executing Vastron, they turned him over to a special tribunal made up of representatives from all the species he had oppressed. His trial lasted 2 months, and the evidence against him filled entire databases. The verdict was guilty on all counts, but the sentence was not death. Instead, Vastron was imprisoned for life on a remote world, where he would spend his remaining years isolated and powerless. The judges explained their reasoning carefully. We do not kill him because we are building a galaxy based on justice, not revenge. His crimes are terrible, but killing him would make us no better than he was. The Velthian reformists, led by Patriarch Velker, took control of their government. They immediately agreed to all of humanity's original demands and more. The empire was dissolved. In its place, they created the Velthian Federation, a democratic government. They gave equal rights to all its citizens. Reparations were paid to every species that had suffered under Velthian rule. Colonial holdings were returned to their original owners or granted independence. The massive Velthian military was reduced to a defense force only. 6 months after the battle, representatives from 89 species gathered to sign the new Galactic Charter. It was based on principles that Counselor Murray Choi had spent the entire war writing. Every species had equal votes. Colonial exploitation was banned completely. Military aggression would face immediate sanctions from all other species working together.